both Nepal and India in terms of attaining prosperity. So, more importantly, we will be focusing today solely on the relations of Nepal and India, and would like to discuss more on the best ways that we can adopt that ultimately prepares a ground for prosperity in the Indian subcontinent. For this, we have official representatives from the government sides of both the countries, and we do have prominent speakers of the industries. So now I would like to introduce the personalities who are attending in today's program. They are the President of NICCI, Mrs. Srijana Rana. I would like to welcome her. Similarly, we do have Vice President, Mr. Saival Ghosh. I would like to welcome him. They are the representatives on the part of organizing team. However, we do have our respected DG, Mr. Rudra Singh Tamang. He represents Department of Tourism. I would like to welcome sir. And similarly, we have Mr. Abhishek Upadhyay. He is the First Secretary of Commerce, Embassy of India in Kathmandu. Welcome to First Secretary, sir. Similarly, we have Dr. Dhananjay Regmi, but due to his emergency meeting, he could not make it at this moment, and he has promised that he would be joining in the later course. Similarly, we have Mr. CN Pandey as a panelist. He is the former president of NATA and one of the renowned industrialists of both Nepal and India connection. Similarly, I would like to welcome Ms. Pooja Rizal. She is the brand ambassador of Nepal Travelers. Likewise, Mr. Kanchan Rai, the founder of Ghumante and an avid traveler, is in the group of panelists today. And we have Ms. Sumnima Udas as the founder and executive director of Lumbini Museum. So I would like to welcome you all here today. So at first, I would like to request Mr. Saival Ghosh for the opening remarks. So to talk about Mr. Ghosh, he has got wide range of engagement. So far I know Mr. Ghosh has worked both in Nepal and India in various capacities. So currently he has been working as the manager, country manager in one of the renowned association. Besides, he is the vice president of NICCI, and he is also the convener of India-Nepal Business Forum. He holds several portfolios in the committees of FNCCI, CNI, and Nepal Chamber of Commerce. I would like to request Mr. Ghosh to put forth opening remarks at this webinar. Mr. Ghosh.
Thank you, Tegh Bahadur ji. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me welcome you all once again. NICCI, in collaboration with Uptrendly, is working together to organize monthly seminars on range of topics. We hope to bring in a fresh perspective to these discussions by reaching out to you all, which we find that young audience with a difference in their outlook. We hope to have stimulating discussions to help us understand the situation and at all levels, like individuals, business community, and the government, what we all are doing and what we all can do to find a way forward. Now, I'll start with a little background of NICCI. It was established in 1994 as a bilateral chamber of commerce, basically with Nepalese business community, as well as Indian business community who have business interest in Nepal. NICCI aims to promote joint ventures and facilitate discussions and interaction between the two countries in a number of areas like tourism, energy, tax, trade, banking, etc. The forum also provides support and aid in resolving problems faced by member organizations and represent them to appropriate authorities. Now, tourism, as we all know, is a high priority sector for Nepal, and it contributes around about 8% of our GDP. As per published studies that we get, that nearly 1 million direct and indirect jobs were created by this industry back in 2016, which is approximately 6.4% of the total employment. With every 6 tourists arrival in Nepal, it creates 1 job, which is much, much higher than the international average of 1 job per 11 tourists. Statistics show that India is the largest tourism source for Nepal. With open border, close cultural and religious ties, we see immense opportunity to promote bilateral tourism and regional tourism in Nepal. Now, as Tegh Bahadur ji was pointing out, that the COVID probably hit this industry the hardest. Of course, it has hit all the industry, but definitely the hardest hit was tourism. So we have a number of speakers today, and we will be sharing their insights, stories, and recommendations. According to the Ministry of Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation, Nepal tourism industry is estimated to lose $330 million during this lockdown period. So plans and policies are needed to be put in place by the government, and probably private-public partnership may also be required to take it forward. We have read various comments and discussions, and I'm sure there was various plans which has been done to have a 2-day weekend to promote domestic tourism. So yes, this is one part which would be highly welcomed, as well as ways and means to promote international tourism. Some steps have already been taken, and I'm sure we'll be able to take it forward. Today, we hope that we'll be able to discuss policies that can help revive, restart, and enhance bilateral tourism with India as well. So I would like to hand over to our moderator, Tegh Bahadur ji. Thank you all very much for your patient hearing. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Vice President of NICCI, respected Mr. Ghosh. As you stated, we do share very historic relations, not only in terms of national level, but also in the level of people to people. That's why we have a lot. We are the part of Indian subcontinent, and definitely tourism is such a market or such a domain that could herald the better days in the lives of people of both Nepal and India. With this belief, I now would like to officially move into the panel discussions. So as I have already stated, we do have eminent personalities from both Nepal side and even from the government of India side. So at this point of time, I now would like to move on to the first panelist. So as I have already mentioned that today we'll be digging deeper into the new practice that we can set in terms of tourism that are clearly demarcated the history of tourism. So for that, I now would like to welcome Mr. Rudra Singh Tamang, Department of Tourism's DG. So he is the Joint Secretary of Government of Nepal. So Mr. Tamang is the Director General of Government of Nepal, and he currently holds Department of Tourism. This is the authority to regulate and monitor the entire tourism industry and activity across Nepal. So within this framework, I now would like to request our respected DG sir to enlighten something more on the questions that I am going to ask to you. How has COVID changed the scope of tourism in Nepal? You have to explain with the light or with the lens of government of Nepal, and what lessons has Nepal government learned from this, and what could be the opportunity and light at the end of the tunnel you see, despite all problems, including no business, no movement or less movement in the time span of 1.5 years. So I now would like to request Mr. Tamang.
Thank you, Tekji, distinguished panelists and distinguished guests, and also the viewer from the different agencies who are joining in this today's webinar meeting. The tourism is the one of the sector that is very too much affected from this COVID pandemic during this 1.5 years. We are just facing the different type of problem till now. And as a government point of view, because this is the big challenges to just monitor and regulate all these activities of tourism sector, especially there's a big loss from the part of the investor, and also losing the lots of jobs, as well as also everything is nearly collapsed. So government, from the part of the government, what we are just learned, the problem is that is, there's a big issues and big problems, which is firstly we need to solve out for that one. So during the pandemic, in the first time which government declared the lockdown, first lockdown, we faced many problems, and many foreigners need to be evacuated from the different region of the Nepal, and there is big challenges to send back to their countries and something like that, and some issues there was just evacuate and make sure that all the foreign international tourists need to be sent their home. And then after when we finished the first phase of this this lockdown, then we got the big challenges that many industries nearly to be closed, and everything was closed, and there was no business activities. Then government decided to just open some part of the some sector, something like this. First time we closed everything, and then second phase we just opened the mountaineering and trekking and mountaineering sectors. Then we open the other sector also. This time also government decided to open the open for all the borders from the Indian sides and Chinese sides, and also this we have just provided some this unarrival visa for the tourists who got the full vaccinated. And also this is the what situation we are facing, that is the just making the just operation is very big challenges for this for us. The another one is the safety of the tourist is that this second options, and that's in that reason that what we found that is everything is in the tourism sector. We didn't have the the alternative plan. We didn't have the alternative plan right now, and we feel that we need to have this alternative plan, as well as the some sustainable plan and something like this. And government has just issued some directives, as well as government has some changes in policies in through the budget and giving some kind of a little bit of support from the monetary policy and changing the monetary policy, as well as the and some just giving the some kind of this financial support through the banking channel, as well as the some giving a rebate from the not paying the rebate from the fees, license fees, and also renewal fees of this in that sector. So, but within this period, what we learned that what is the opportunity we found that we just started from the in the tourism activity through within the COVID, COVID period. So last time during the big pandemic season, we just started this our mountaineering like on the expedition in the Everest region. What we found that we follow all the rules and regulation which is it's guided through the government and also the Ministry of Health, and we follow all the health protocol, and we got surprised because in the history there was and the biggest number of the climber who just try to just scale the Mount Everest and the other highest Himalayan region. So, but what we just make sure that we are very totally follow the rules and regulation, as well as the government decision, and also the we follow all the protocols and something like this. And but that makes it a little bit very easy to just reopen the tourism. That events makes us a little bit more giving the more space to reopen the tourism. That's why in that way this season also in the operation that is the ongoing in the Manaslu region and other mountain region, and also government is able to reopen the this tourism sector, but we still need to be more focused on this focus, and also we need to be more sincere from the government agency, as well as the this private sector also. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, DG sir. So thank you so much for sharing in your experiences and also the work that you performed during difficult time. We have always been grateful to you for your constant support rendered to private sector of Nepal, especially to tourism industry. And I now would like to move on to the next panelist. So we don't need to give extra biographical informations regarding Mr. Abhishek Upadhyay is the first secretary of Embassy of India, and he heads the commercial division. So Mr. Upadhyay, you have been very close to us and you have been looking at us from various angles, and we are grateful for your support, because in some of the pictures I see you are making travel to different destinations. So you have understood Nepal very differently, and that is the treasure for we people as well. So at this point of time, I now would like to ask you from the perspective of consumer behavior, because as a close nation, we would like to bring in more friends from India in terms of tourism, whom we call tourists from India. So after analyzing Nepalese tourism industry, what new changes does Nepal have to incorporate in its policy that ultimately serves as the pulling factor for our neighbors, I mean Indian tourists? So is this the same conventional pilgrimage tourism or border side casino tourism, or would there be any recreational or luxury sort of tourism to Indian tourists? Is that still demand in India, or does Nepal have to introduce a new type of tourism products, services, and destinations should be branded? So let us reimagine the new world for them in the context of consumer behavior. Now open to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mahat, and I'm glad to be here in this august company of speakers and really eminent persons, many of whom I also follow personally. I can tell you that in last 8 months, or rather 9 months that I've been here in Nepal, I have realized that it's probably one of the most beautiful countries in the entire world. And while we share the Himalayas, with Nepal and with Bhutan, for example, and Tibet and other places, what you have got here in Nepal is really unequaled anywhere else in the world. And anyone who has stood at Annapurna base camp and looking at a 4,000-meter steep wall in front of him would realize the scale of mountains here is unlike anywhere else in the world. Similarly, there are so many other destinations and which are very diverse, very different from each other, and unfortunately not very well known outside Nepal, and even probably within Nepal. I know that we have the team from Ghumante who have done a great job in popularizing Nepal for Nepalis. I myself am a major follower of their videos on YouTube. Kudos to you. You have done a great job, I think. And I really hope you can sometime go to India also and popularize Nepal there as well. Because as Mr. Mahat was saying, there is a need to not only strengthen the old tourism products of Nepal, but also come up with newer products. Because the average Indian that you ask, where would he or she like to go in Nepal? Kathmandu, Pokhara, and Chitwan are the obvious answers. And maybe now people are talking about Muktinath or one or two more places. But there is so much more in Nepal, and which can cater to various segments of the Indian population. And I'm focusing on India because I think it's very natural to focus on the Indian emerging middle class as a potential tourist market, as a source of tourists, which can really make a very important contribution to post-COVID economic recovery in Nepal. Why I'm saying this is the moment the lockdown after the second wave was lifted in Delhi and in Punjab and in Haryana, we had people going into Himachal Pradesh in hordes. There was an urge to travel in the middle class, and unlike many other segments of the society, especially the relatively less advantaged ones, where COVID has resulted in a loss of income, the middle class and the upper middle class has actually seen a rise in savings, because people who were actually spending money in so many other things, they have actually accumulated savings because their incomes haven't been hit, their savings have gone up. So there is this increased urge to travel, and people are looking for outlets. And as long as the international visa regime remains tight, and it will remain like that for a few years, people would like to look for places nearby, within India, nearby India, and Nepal could really fill in the gap for, let's say, the middle and upper middle class of UP, of Bihar, of West Bengal, even Delhi and Haryana, and of course, rest of India is all open to it, provided people are made aware of it. A lake like Rara, for example, is probably one of the best in the Himalayas and still so less known in India. There are destinations near Pokhara, there are destinations in eastern Nepal, in Ilam, which not many people know about. So I think this is one area where, and I can say this in presence of Mr. Tamang also, that we are very keen to work with you, with government of Nepal and stakeholders like yourself, like NICCI, like Ghumante, to jointly organize product marketing events and initiatives wherein Indian tourists and potential Indian tourists become aware to the range of destinations that Nepal has to offer. And in India, roughly 35% of the population today counts itself as middle class. And this is a huge segment. Even the few neighboring states of Nepal, even if you count the middle class and potential tourists in those few states, it can really transform the economy, and especially the service economy of Nepal, if only you can attract those tourists. My personal view is that Himachal and Uttarakhand are probably less cool as tourist destinations than Nepal is. Maybe I'm slightly biased, but if this bias is also transferred to other Indians like me, I think they'll be looking forward to come to Nepal to spend a weekend if required, to spend a week. And you never know. Now work from home is coming up so fast around the world that people in Himachal and Jammu and Kashmir, for example, are renting out their spaces for city dwellers of India with high-speed internet access, asking them to come and just work from there amid the mountains. With such great internet penetration in Nepal, even in far-off areas, I think that could also be one option. Coming to Nepal is very easy, relatively speaking, for Indian tourists. You don't need a visa. Things are much easier. Sometimes even passport is not required. You have hopefully we'll have more direct flight connectivity also as we go along. So I'd like to leave you with these thoughts and also our total willingness to support this endeavor. And this is not one-sided. This is two-sided, because everyone in Nepal, most people in Nepal have been to the most well-known Indian destinations, not just the big cities, the pilgrimage destinations. So it's a bi-directional flow. And I think Nepal has a lot to gain from attracting Indian tourists into older segments as well as into newer segments. So we are open to work with you. Let us know whenever you think and wherever you think we can be of any help. So thanks.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Upadhyaya. So thank you so much for sharing in your ideas, views, strategy, and love towards Nepal and Nepal's destinations and its tourism products. So, dear audience, at this point of time, we are discussing the major theme, how we can reimagine tourism after COVID or post-COVID, and how we can work together in the level of people, in the level of states, and in the level of central governments between the two nations, Nepal and India. So after this, I would like to welcome other veteran tourism leader of Nepal. He is Mr. CN Pandey. He is the former president of NATA. And now, in the capacity of the persons who looks after Indian market and has his own name, I now would like to enter into the marketing strategy of Nepal. So, Mr. Pandey, Nepal's marketing strategy is particularly handled by Nepal Tourism Board in collaboration with private sector. So definitely Nepal Tourism Board and we all private sectors are doing a lot, focusing especially our neighbors, of course, India first. But how can we think of reinterpreting it or reimagining? And the present number of travel would be drastically go off if we put extra resource, extra effort, or if we could reach into the new destinations that have more probability to attract tourists from those areas. So are there any new areas that we can promote in Indian source market? Because India is the largest source market and tomorrow it remains the largest source market. So I would like to take your expertise and experience at this forum, Mr. Pandey.
Thank you very much, Tegji. And special thanks for NICCI President and entire team. So after, let's say, for the mid of the COVID, and Nepal, we are also in the very decline for COVID and we restart for tourism. And obviously our major market is India. And being an Indian largest tour operating in Nepal, so how I like to or plan for our entire tourism entity, including Nepal tourism boards. As for this time, Indian travelers' mood or the idea has been changed. Before Nepal start as a destination for honeymoon trip or shopping tourism, when you start in the tourism, so we could not rebrand in India as such a way. Now Indian travel are looking for different matter because India, after open for them open economy, all intra shopping international goods are available better than India, and all the luxury cars and other are available in India. better than Nepal. So now we need to change for our strategy and the source plan of the group of Indian travelers. See, many Indian are now they want to for the soft adventure tourism also. As a destination, they don't want to look only for Kathmandu, Pokhara, and Chiton. They like to visit for the middle level Himalaya, where they can enjoy a different kind of the adventure, because India's major city people doesn't have such a beautiful area to close there, and that kind of export is less like we are much closer from major city of India. So that's why we need to rebrand for Indian tourists to broad Nepal for a different geographical plan. Now they want to have for the adventure tourism, and major second part of the tourism, they want to have got a pilgrimage tourism, because India has got huge Hindus. They have got such a huge belief from the Nepalese goddess and Nepalese temple. Same time, they want to travel different place. One, they have to the darshan, and second, they want to go for the adventure as well as. Third, we need to plan for Nepal. We become many bigger hotels, and our the weather condition is much different than India's major city, and they want to have got a major MICE business in Nepal. We have got a huge capacity of different hotels, and different cities now can handle for MICE. So new strategy we have to start by private sector and Nepal Tourism Board to rebrand it for the Indian travel to bring Nepal, because this past few years, almost 1 decade, in Indian travel are more focusing for the Middle East and other destination. So we need to rebrand after since 2000. Indian travel are more and more are interested to come Nepal, and between this time we are focused from Nepal to other international source. That's why our more focus need to restart for India to rebrand Nepal the more new destination, and rebranded for our package too. Due to the generation and the people thought an Indian nation have got different like they are more today's condition, they are in the more world class better tourists, because even if you see today's there will be larger number of the Indian travel are go for UK, America, Europe, and etc. So that kind of the our mentality, our tour operator, our hotelers mindset also we need to change before and now. So I like to advise, and we also plan for that from our trade. We need to rebrand for the Nepalese package destination, and with collaboration for the counterpart of India like NICCI in Indian business operator and other tourism associate, including government source also, we need to jointly plan for the different model of the markets. Thank you for now.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Pandey. So we keep rewriting history, we keep changing our status. That's why tourism has also need to be reviewed. That's why we have given a title of today's webinar as Reimagining Tourism Post-COVID, and how we can work together for our common goals that we need to achieve between two nations. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this webinar, I have seen some of the reputed faces, icons of the industry of Nepal. I would like to welcome you all, respected sir and ma'am. Thank you so much for joining in, and we would definitely be in your touch after this webinar for your further feedback. So at this moment, I now would like to welcome next panelist that I have been provided with. She is none other than Ms. Sumnima Udas. So to talk about Ms. Udas, she is the Executive Director at the Lumbini Museum. That is a non-profit initiative to create a state-of-the-art museum in the birthplace of Gautam Buddha. And currently that is under renovation. And Lumbini Museum is one of the historical places, as we all know, and that is the main attraction towards the journey towards enlightenment. Formerly, she was the CNN International Delhi-based correspondent. That's wonderful. And Udas was responsible for covering key political, economic, social, environmental, and general interested stories from the countries. So I think it would be more relevant to ask her some of the loading questions. So at this point of time, I would like to ask her, Mrs. Udas, a report has it that more than 50% of the source market of international tourist arrival to Nepal is from India. How can we benefit from the large population of India, especially in Lumbini, which is the nearest point of arrival from India? And what new stopovers and activities can we extend in and around Lumbini area in addition to its own importance of Lumbini? So can you devise any cultural, religious, sociological, ecological sort of activities to encourage more staying days in Nepal, especially targeting the Indian tourists who come within a day and return within a day from nearest border point? Ms. Udas.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Amidst such an esteemed group of speakers, I want to preface this by saying by no means am I an expert on tourism or COVID-19 even, but as someone who has traveled the world as an international correspondent for CNN, reporting on how other countries have approached development strategies, positioning and branding of a country. And as someone who's now working on a project that has the potential to have a transformative impact on one of the most iconic historical, cultural, and spiritual sites in the world, Lumbini, it is an honor to be able to share some of my thoughts. When we're talking about enhancing bilateral tourism between Nepal and India, pandemic or no pandemic, I think there is no greater cause for a symbiotic, mutually supportive relationship between the two countries than spiritual tourism, both Hindu and Buddhist. Given the nature of my work today, I shall focus on Buddhism, of course. We know India is taking great strides in the development of the Buddhist circuit because it recognizes the sheer global and rising demand for Buddhism all over the world. We're talking about more than 500 million Buddhists. And if you consider Chinese Buddhists, that's more than 1 billion Buddhists, all located in the periphery of Nepal and India. And in Nepal, the government also recognizes the significance of being home to the birthplace of the Buddha. And we have of course, even built an international airport close to Lumbini in the hopes of boosting tourism. But my concern is, and has always been, how is Lumbini being positioned and branded today? How is it being received by the visitor? And is our development plan sustainable and mindful of the aspirations of not just the pilgrims and tourists from India, from Nepal, from all over the world, but also the communities who live there, which is of course bordering India. Since the time of the Buddha, Lumbini has been a center of pilgrimage because the Buddha himself said before he passed away to parinirvana that every devotee should come here, which is why even today more than 1.5 million people visit Lumbini. But government data shows that the majority of these people, as you mentioned, are spending less than an hour in Lumbini. There are hundreds and hundreds of reports from the World Bank to ADB to UNESCO to other development agencies on the tourism potential of Lumbini and what can be done there. I don't need to talk about that. But what about the visitor experience? Are pilgrims and tourists actually having the kind of magical and enriching experience that they expect to have when they come to a sacred site like Lumbini? We Nepalis are very proud to say Buddha was born in Nepal, but what are we doing to ensure that the youth of this country continue to have an authentic sense of pride, ownership, and feel the need to protect the rich culture and history that we have all inherited? So it's time to reimagine and reposition Lumbini. You talked about introducing new kinds of products, rebranding Nepal, and that's, I suppose, where the Lumbini Museum comes in. With this museum, we're creating a state-of-the-art museum, an anchor experience that not only contributes to a new narrative, but also drives and sustains the kind of growth that improves quality of life and instills a sense of awareness in the people who live there and visit. Why a museum, you may ask? There are many success stories, the most prominent being the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao, a small town in Spain, or the other museum in Naoshima, Japan. Both these towns were literally garbage dumping sites until the museum opened up and tourism went up by 25,000%. And the whole trajectory changed, not just of the town, but for the whole country. Museums bring history to life. They instill curiosity, they educate, they inspire. But there are museums that have failed too, very badly. Even in cities like New York, museums are finding it very hard to engage audiences and to encourage them to come again and again. So when we build a museum in the 21st century in Lumbini, we have to build for the future. For Nepali audiences, Indian audiences, global audiences, we can't just put some statues of the Buddha or some archaeological pieces and some descriptions and expect people to come. Today's museums have to be informative and educational, but also inspirational, experiential. They have to make you feel something. They have to be transformative. They have to make you want to visit all the other key sites associated with the Buddha's life around the Greater Lumbini area, but also in India. And this is what will boost meaningful bilateral tourism in these border areas. So that is our mission with the Lumbini Museum. We are a small group of dedicated international Nepali professionals who've left our previous jobs to do this. Since this is a panel on Nepal and Indian ties, I want to point out that our curator is actually one of India's top curators. His name is Naman Ojha. Architect also happens to be Indian, Bijoy Jain. Exhibition designer is Thai. We also have someone from Taiwan. Lumbini is located in present-day Nepal, but its development in the past half century has always been part of a much larger global vision. This occurred when Emperor Ashoka erected the Ashokan pillar in Lumbini in the 3rd century by connecting Lumbini to the Pan-Indian Mauryan Empire and its values of peace and interreligious harmony. This also was the case in 1967 when the Secretary General of the United Nations, U Thant, visited Lumbini and with the King Mahendra's consent set in motion an international campaign to develop the site into a universal center of peace. So the museum is trying to help realize that vision that was actually set in stone many thousands of years ago with Ashoka, but also more recently in 1967 with the UN Secretary General. Before I wrap up, I just want to say to this panel of both Indian and Nepali stakeholders, when we look at universally important sites like Lumbini, we cannot look at it with a narrow nationalistic perspective that this is Nepal, this is India. These sacred sites belong to the world. So let's think big, let's collaborate, let's engage with that ethos in mind. Let us be more mindful of the aspirations of the pilgrims and visitors who come there. And let us not squander away what is one of the most important cultural assets both our countries have been so fortunate to inherit. Thanks very much.
Yes, thank you so much. So thank you so much for your insights and your offer as well, because we definitely need to churn out our thoughts to yield better results. So we may wish the tourists, those who visit Lumbini, could go beyond the circle of Buddhist, Buddhist circle, and they could even go to the hilly stations of nearby districts, even up to Khaptad areas. So it would be the responsibility of both the government stakeholders and also from the private sector. So we wish all the best for the promotion of that area differently. That's why we call it, let us see it anew. Okay, at this point of time, I now have next panelist. So she is Ms. Pooja Rizal. She's the brand ambassador of Nepali Travelers, and she's a solo traveler, quite interesting. And as I have known her, she is the out-of-box sort of thinker, and she would like to introduce some of the changes in the pattern that we travel into. So she is the solo traveler, and she has been to many places, especially in the eastern part, and also she has traveled to the western part of Nepal. And she has also been running a kind of hospitality venture named Hostel Next Tour. So at this point of time, I would concentrate my questions to you. And since you represent youth and you have been set your footprints to different unexplored places of Nepal, so I now would like to ask you the question of tourism safety. So tourism safety definitely is the most important element that all aspirants before their travel arrangement look for, and they definitely assess. So how good is Nepal's safety, especially for solo travelers? Because you have already, as I mentioned, you have traveled to different places on your own without any assistance or help. So should it be continued your way, or should that be thought differently? Because individual travel making could be a risk. There could be so many problems you may have to face. So kindly share your experiences where you have been and how safe you found Nepal. And if you can prove it, then we can call Nepal a safe destination both for COVID and also on your personal level or personal safety. So the floor is yours, Ms. Rizal.
Thank you, Mr. Mahat. I've been to a lot of places in Nepal, to the eastern side and to the western side, mostly alone. I mean, I cannot say Nepal is safe just me traveling alone. You know, for me, because I've traveled alone most of the time, I have faced certain, difficulties, certain kind of harassments, but not in the major, like a massive way, just a little bit that we face in our day-to-day life, whenever we go in a very indirect manner, that sometimes we don't even realize it, the harassment and the difficulties. But according to my experiences of traveling alone in different parts of Nepal, I have been fortunate enough that I haven't faced like major safety concerns, dangerous incidents while I was traveling. I think if, like me, a lot of women and a lot of men, overall, all gender, they travel alone, and if they advocate that, if they have not faced any such kind of situations, if they advocate, if they come in front and then they say that I have not felt any incidents as such, then only we can say that Nepal is safe to travel. Only me traveling alone everywhere does not necessarily mean that Nepal is safe to travel. But if someone asks me, like the foreigner or anybody in here, is Nepal really safe to travel? How about you? How about your experience? I say it's completely safe to travel. It also depends on how you are traveling, how you are planning your travel. Being careless and not planning ahead will only increase the possibilities of danger. I usually make sure I plan. I actually research about the places I'm visiting, and then know the people out there, what kind of people are living, what kind of culture I'm gonna encounter over there, and so that I create my own window for safety. So this is like the very important thing that everybody, no matter if you're traveling alone or in a group, they should really have this in mind, that whenever you're traveling, it's not just a matter of the place or the people over there. It's also a matter of the preparation that you go through before the process. And if you have created the certain window for your safety, then only you can say that, okay, the things happened beyond what I had imagined, because, I had created my own safety boundaries, but then these things happened anyway. Then only you can say if it's safe or not. I mean, I've traveled outside the Nepal as well, and I'm like, I just don't travel alone. Because I started off as a solo traveler, because the organization I represent, Nepali Travelers, we actually started off with, like, let's promote women traveling alone first, so that they gain confidence. They gain, they have like this self-discovery, self-confidence in themselves, so that they can, even if they don't find anybody else to tag along with them, or travel inside Nepal or outside Nepal, they can take this ownership, and then they can go travel on their own. Does not mean that they have to travel alone always. The traveling alone part is just one step towards the bigger part of the tourism, and I think, like, mostly domestic people, I mean, domestic tourism should be the major concern of Nepal as well. If we as a Nepali, if we have not traveled in our own countries and outside the countries, I don't think our imagination of how tourism should be is gonna be like a very broadened, in a very broadened sense. It's gonna be very limited, and our the sense of how it's gonna be, how it should be, how tours should be, how trekkings, packages, products should be, is going to be very limited. So I think, like, we should be traveling to other countries as well, We should be traveling to India. We should be traveling to Europe, America, wherever, as a Nepali, and like make our country known over there, so that the people out there, they know that people in Nepal, they travel in their own country, also outside the country. So maybe, because tourism is so flourished in their country, maybe it's probably safe. Maybe government has decided, have other plans for safety plans, and or other products for their country as well, because they are serving it to their own locals. So maybe it's going to be safe for us as well. So this sense of this tourism this flourishing tourism within and outside the country is very important. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Rizal, for sharing your experiences. So this is one of the important issues that we have recorded of late. So you have set a kind of record, and this is a kind of motivation factor to women, or especially girls, who would like to visit on their own. But safety matters a lot. So we wish you all the best for your further endeavors. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point of time, we have crossed 5 p.m. and I've started getting some of the queries from our respected and valuable audience. So I'll be putting for them in a while. So at this point of time, I would like to request Mr. Kanchan Rai. Mr. Kanchan Rai is popularly known as Gumanti, because he is the founder of Gumanti Travel and aspiring filmmaker as well. He is the founder of Gumanti, and he has set footprints in most of the areas of Nepal. So he is of the view that tourism should be redefined and it should be reimagined. Definitely, this is quite pertinent and contextual to our webinar meeting. So he is filming amazing products and destinations and promoting them via social medias and other platforms. So I would like to welcome and ask you a question, Mr. Rai. So the question is, as per Indian outbound tourism fact, the total tourists who travel abroad from India is close to 25 million. What could be the new areas in your experiences that travel tourism or tourism and hospitality industry of Nepal could benefit of this population? So if you look at the previous history, most of the Indian friends or tourists would opt for luxury or pilgrimage rather than taking adventurous footsteps. So in your opinion, can we take a chunk of or larger portion of Indian tourists in those areas where you have traveled? Kindly share your experiences and your views on this.
Thank you so much, Tegzi, and I feel so honored to be here among these prominent panelists. I was quite taken aback because you are asking questions to everyone, and I didn't know what to expect. So I have been listening to this webinar for over an hour, and I've heard so many people talk about so many different things, and I don't know, maybe because
excuse me, Mr. Rai, can I just clarify you, because you have done something others have not done. You have visited many places, you have uploaded your videos. So what could be the probability of those areas to the possible travelers from our India? You can just explain that. That would be great assistance for us.
Yes, I was getting there, but this was just a preface, and because I don't know, because we were mentioned, I found Mr. Abhishek's speech very interesting. I felt so glad that a person like him knows about us. So and the way he mentioned and like mentioned us, so I would like to thank him. And regarding your question, I think, yeah, that's what because I had a small points prepared, since this was organized by NICCI. Like the first thing we need to change is our general perception of what a tourist is or who a tourist is, you know, like how a tourist looks like, you know. Generally, if you ask anyone, even in like the government bodies that are responsible for tourism, their first impression of a tourist is like a guy with blue eyes, you know, and blonde hair, right? But year after year, the stats show us that the highest number of visitors in Nepal have been from India and China. And then I don't know how do we keep the records, but a majority of those travelers from India are here for pilgrimage, and many of them do not know or do not want to go to the places of Nepal where you have to trek or stay in a local's house, right? And that, I think that's where our problem lies, because like the number of travelers, the youth, overall the middle class people who have started to travel has increased in Nepal. I think the same has happened to in India, but we haven't received as much of those types of, you know, like people who have just started to love traveling, or people who love traveling from India to visit Nepal. I know this because whenever we post a video, and then on almost each and every video of ours, there's one Indian guy or girl who comments that, oh, lovely place, I would love to visit. And then we get so many questions about like, how is it for Indian tourists? What do we need? Do we need permits and everything? So I think the way we are promoting those places, like given the number of tourists we receive from India, I think we can prioritize like Indian travelers, like who are not just pilgrims, but who are like true travelers, you know, like who like adventure, who like trekking, who like to see the mountains, who like to see the village life, the culture and everything. And on this, I would like to add that like we have been milking the same cow for so long. Like I remember I was a little boy when Nepal announced Visit Nepal 1998, and the destinations we promoted back then, it's almost like almost 30 years, we are still promoting the same locations, right? We don't have any new locations. It's always Everest Base Camp, it's always Annapurna Base Camp. Like, and from my experience, like traveling to all over the different corners of Nepal, I think we have so many, you know, like so many. I can't even. Sometimes I think that like I'm going to die before exploring all these places of Nepal. So we have so many places, and then we just keep repeating that those same places back and forth, back and forth every year. I'm, you know, glad in a way that 2020 the world was affected by the pandemic, because our preparations for the Visit Nepal 2020, I don't think it was enough. So it saved us some kind of embarrassment, you know, like if what would happen if we had like 2 million tourists as we targeted. I don't know, like it's better to have nothing than like have a bad name spread all around the world. So yeah, that's all I have to say for now. Like because I prefer to travel in unexplored destinations, and then from what I've seen all over, and the immense possibilities those places have, I think we need to expand our vision. Like everybody here, I would like to request them, because they are in a position where they can do something about this. So we have to extend, we have to go beyond ABC and EBC. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. So very nice. You don't want to milk the same cow. That's what we want. Yeah. So may you be able to explore and promote new places like you are doing. So there are still many unexplored and unreached places. So may we be able to see your new uploads. This is our expectation. So now I have been notified that our prominent speaker, the CEO of Nepal Tourism Board, Dr. Dhananjay Regmi, is with us. So I would like to welcome Dr. Regmi at this digital forum. So
thank you, Tekji.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you for inviting me to give a small talk about Nepal on this reputed forum, NICCI. President, VP of NICCI India and other participants. Well, I'm sorry that I'm a little late, and I am out of one of my board meeting. Actually, it's going on, and since I was requested to give some speech, before I asked our DG Rudra Singh ji to say something to attend this, but I found that Sirzana madam is keep writing me, so I try my best to give a few minutes. So I think most of the things were covered by the previous speakers, because it's a meeting especially between the NICCI, Nepal-India Chamber of Commerce, and the industries people. So what I believe is, for the India, Nepal is one of the destination, one of the prominent destination, and at present situation, there is a huge potentiality to develop more better relationship, and also for the promotion of tourism in both the nations. Actually, in our present budget also, we have focused mostly on the border tourism, and more and we are very much convinced that India is going to be the prominent market for Nepal, and for that we are planning to provide new products to Indian market, because Nepal had a completely different image in the long run, in the past, because it started during the 1960s, 70s, 80s. Nepal has completely a different image. It is something like a Switzerland of Nepal for the Indian tourists. It is something kind of a dream for them to come to Nepal. It is something like that. If you look, go and talk with the people in India who are now above 50s, 60s, most of them who were rich enough, or who can bear the cost, or who have at that time who prefer to travel abroad for their honeymoon. 90% of them do say that, oh, I have been to Nepal for my honeymoon in 1970s, 80s, or sometime. So that was the time. Even in Nepal, in many of the major businessmen, if you read what they have wrote about in their biography, then you will find that they mention about the Devanand visit to the new roads for the shopping, because you could have find everything that you couldn't find in India. Like Nepal was a very good importer of the different type of goods from the beginning. And there were the two things that people used to fulfill at that time. One, their religious purpose by visiting the Pashupatinath or the other religious places, Janakpur or Muktinath. At the same time, they would have they can have a best shopping opportunities in Nepal. So on the there was some gap, and now we are trying to reestablish that image of Nepal. We are trying to again promote Nepal as one of the favorite destinations for the Indian tourists by educating them or giving information about the new product that has been developed in the recent years. Before, so I was in one of the program in the SATE, South Asian travel mart in Delhi, and I have visited a number of people from the major outbound operators and major companies who are selling, who are really doing a very good business in India. So like Make My Trip, Is My Trip, or the Thomas Cook, and so on others, and they all were like surprised to know that what Nepal is offering at present. It is like for the nightlife also, Nepal is quite good. We have a number of new discos, and for the casinos loving people, there are the number of products. Beside religious places, for the adventure loving people, we have different type of adventure, and we're proud to say that we are the pioneer on coming up with the new ideas of the new adventures, and we started it in the Himalayan countries, and we have even teach a number of countries in our neighborhood. So rafting, we are the best one. For skydiving, paragliding, jeep, bungee jump, and so on. So I mean, so many new products come up in the Nepal, and the road conditions were much better than before. And then Nepal is well connected domestically by airlines also. So when I was talking about all these things and what the people can enjoy within a week, like they can enjoy the different type of topography from 61 meter to top of the world, and they can see a lot of biodiversity, and at the same time they can meet with the different cultural ethnic group people. So this is something like you are driving, and in every half an hour of 20-30 minutes you will see something new, you know, new vegetation, new type of people, different people with the different ways, so different house, everything. So this is sort of the diversity is something is good for even to teach the kids from the students, and it is also a kind of a very interesting thing for the people who who are like who are like retired and looking for some different experience. So what I want to say, because it seems like I have already talked for the 5 minutes, so it's the signal came. So what I want to say that, so there is a lot more that the Nepal is offering at present, and at the time when Indian people are looking for the destination to go and travel at the time of the pandemic, Nepal is going to be their best home. It's first thing, it is very close. Secondly, it is we have a 800 plus kilometers border, and this will help you to you can feel more secure and you can travel safely. And for the Indian citizens, Nepal come up with a very special, completely a different protocol. So even they can travel to Nepal and they don't have to and even if they are not welcome, country has done for the Indian citizens. So I would like to request you all to visit Nepal, and at the time when we are open, and in whole Asia, I think we are open with the very, very flexible protocols and easy protocols that everyone who all the travelers can decide to travel to Nepal. So I'm looking forward to welcome you all. And since I left my meeting in between, if you have some questions, please ask me. I'm going to hear for the 2 minutes and then I'm going to leave. Thank you very much, Tekji, and all the participants. Thank you for providing me time and
Thank you, Dr. Agmi. Thank you, Dr. Agmi. Thank you so much for managing your time despite your busy schedule. So without much ado, I would like to directly enter into the second session. And in this sessions, I have got so many questions, almost 21 questions on my cell phone. So I directly would like to link up with the questions that I have received from my audience. So what special strategy has Nepal tourism adopted to promote Nepal, which is the highest, largest source of tourism to Nepal? Has Nepal Tourism Board devised something unique that could be worthwhile or worth mentioning to bring in recovery in the tourism industry of Nepal? Please kindly enlighten us about the special priority that Nepal Tourism Board has drafted or devised.
If you look at our past history, then you will you realize that Nepal focused more on the long haul destinations or on the European market or the Japan or some different market. But from the beginning, I have a completely a different feeling. I'm always looking for the market that is nearby us and from where the people can travel by the bus, because we have only one international airport at present which is running, and if we run that at the full capacity, the maximum capacity is at present it is providing services to 24 lakh people, 2.4 million people, and at its full capacity, if you run, it is going to provide services to the 3 million people. So out of them, half of the people are going to be the Nepali. So you can serve only 1.5 million foreigners. So in that case, what we can do to increase the number of tourists in Nepal, we have to focus on the border tourism or the by the land or the border tourism by focusing on the land transportation. So if you look at the population along the Nepal's border with the India, you will realize that from all the way from eastern part of Nepal, from the Pashchim Bengal to to Nainital side, Simla, then you will realize that there is almost more than 35 crore population is living along the border within the 200 kilometers from the border. And now looking at the road conditions of the India, these 200 kilometers can be drive within a 2 hour or 2.5 hours. So all the citizens who are living within the distance of a 200 kilometer from the Nepal-India border, we really want to focus on that. This is the first priority that I want to put. And the second one, what I decided is, if you look at the Nepal's people's visitors number, then Sri Lanka is one of the major days. So what I'm focusing is, we are focusing on the Buddhist tourism in the Sri Lanka market as well, because then we have a direct flight started now. And because of that, yesterday we had one meeting with the Sri Lankan travelers, or these associations of the different travel agencies and different tourism associations, and they are also very much excited to develop, to promote the tourism in Nepal. So this is the second market that we are planning. Third, within a 3 to 4 months, this Buddhism International Airport, the Siddhartha Gautam Buddha International Airport is coming. So looking at that, our third priority is going to be the whole Buddhist country. And wherever we don't have these final direct connections, we requested the government to start the domestic flight. The international flight with the national flag initially, and if possible, to request them as well.
Thank you.
So this is all going on. Anyway, there are so many other things, but yeah, priority wise, India is the first, then Buddhist market, and we are thinking about the Middle East. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your insightful delivery of this notion. He was Dr. Egmi, NTB CEO. So may I now request for your 2-minute speech to DG of Department of Tourism, Mr. Tamang, Rudra Singh Tamang. Is he with us?
No, Tekji, I don't.
Okay, so because of his busy schedule, so we could not have him in the second round. No worry. Now I would like to move on to next. So here is the next speaker, Mr. CN Pandey. Mr. Pandey, I would like to again request you for your 2 minutes of important insights. So I'd like to welcome you here. So previously you just mentioned that we can get a lot of benefit. We can reap a huge benefit from India. So even you highlighted some of the important sectors that we definitely need to redefine or relook into. So at this point of time, here are some of the questions. So let me choose one of the questions that has come from our audience. So Mr. Pandey, are you there?
Maybe you should just take. Maybe you should just take the questions are there. So we will write an answer to whoever's send the questions later. We will connect with the speakers, and whoever the questions are related to, we will do that later. I think that would be a better idea.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam President. So, Mr. Pandey.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So here is one of the questions. So, so what can be the role of religious circuits in attracting tourists? This has been asked by one of our audiences. So we do have different religious circuits, including Buddhist, Hindu, and other religious circuits as well. What is your view on this?
Thank you very much. In Nepal, we do have got like 8 Hindu circuits with different temples. And we have got a 4 circuit for Buddhism also. And we build up for 12 Hindu circuit, including Mount Kailash by Nepal. Like, you know, other 11 temple and historical place in Nepal, and the one in the Mount Kailash that we are promoting since long back also. So Nepal is a, you know, we do have got lots of gods, temples, monasteries, and other religious and kunda. So we can, we have already heard that. Before also my speak, I try to highlight. So we need to rebrand before we just sell for the Indian pilgrims for the Pasupati. After that, we plan to sell for Janakpuri and Muktinath. Now we have not only that, we have got so many different historical temple and monastery also. And this is the Mount Kailash is gateway from Nepal. So we can explore, and we already explore from the different area and zone with including the 8 dham and 12 dhams is already been started from long back for Nepal.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Pandey. And now I would like to go to Pooja Rizal. So, Miss Rizal, here is a query from our audience to you. Solo traveling is still difficult in Nepal due to lack of related information, routes, safety, and good accommodations. What's the best way to solve those problems? So it is something like what I asked before. So, what is your take on this? Kindly enlighten us regarding information, routes, and accommodations.
Well, when I'm traveling, roads and the accommodation part, people still they're very unaware. Besides the famous trails, the Everspace Camp Trail, besides all those famous places where a lot of tourists are expected, because Nepal also has other unexplored places and places where a lot of local tourists go. And I've realized, I've compared to the logistics, hotels, and the trails from Everspace Camp to the if you go further west and the further eastern side, suppose in Dolpa region, where there is a famous lake, Seifoksundar Lake. But in terms of accommodation, in terms of logistics, it's very, very, very poor. The hygienic part, the hygiene of the hotels, of the food is not considered at all. But as a traveler, since people look for different local experiences, and a lot of people confuse it with the hygiene part, since this is how the local live, this is how we eat, this is how we live, even doesn't matter even if people are living in a very poor hygiene, they think that since tourists like these kind of experiences, local experiences, so they expect that. But which I personally, as a local traveler, if I go to some places, I would at least want to have a clean toilet, a very not a comfortable bed, but a clean bed.
Yeah, thank you so much. So this is what we need. Yeah, so we probably ran out of our time. Now I would like to go to Mr. Abhishek Upadhyay, First Secretary, sir. Sir, this is my personal question. So recently, government of Nepal has announced travel leave for civil servants and to those employees who are from established institution. But you have been, India has been practicing it since long, right? So in this context, what we have estimated or projected is at least domestic tourism would be getting a lot of benefit out of this announcement. So on the level of government, is that possible to attract some of the Indian travelers who enjoy that facility to Nepal? So what would be your role and what do you suggest to government of Nepal to get benefit from your large population?
Thank you. That's a very interesting question, and it's not the first time it's been raised. It's called the LTC facility, which many of us in India, especially the government employees, they have, wherein they can visit various parts of India on government expenditure. There was a proposal some time back to have this extended to all of South Asia. And I think that proposal is currently lying somewhere in one of our offices. But if we get some more, how to say, some greater appetite from government of Nepal side, because this is something where we would like to be really on the same page with government of Nepal. And if such a thing comes through that channel, of course, the Indian establishment will look at it very carefully. But there is a larger point here. Government servants are a very small chunk of Indians, and they often use this facility to go to their hometowns, which are often very far away. The Indian market of tourists is very much there to explore for Nepalese entrepreneurs, as well as the tourism board, governments, and so on. At some stage, you should be targeting every segment available in India. What I mean is that a person who has just one day to chill and maybe wants some relaxed holiday time can come to a border hotel or a casino or a bar, just have a good evening and go back. Someone who has a weekend to spare, could drive up a little bit, maybe from Biratnagar to Bhetedar, spend a weekend, have some ice cream and good dal bhat tarkari and go back. Someone with a week should be able to go up to Dhankuta and maybe with 2 weeks to the Makalu base camp. What I'm saying is there are segments available in the Indian population. It's a huge number of people split into various economic statuses, age groups and inclinations. And Nepal, I think, has multiple products for each of those segments. And for wholesome development of tourism here, there has to be a strategy to target each of those segments. And I hope more Indians become aware of, it's a beautiful slogan, heaven is myth, Nepal is real. And I really hope it transmits much more into India. And we're open to hear more from you on that.
Thank you, Mr. Upadhyay. So I just read in the chat box that Miss Udas has left us because of her work. I think she is in schedule with some sort of emergencies. So I now would like to request Mr. Kanchan Roy to add something that you would like to add up in today's discussion. What would like to suggest, particularly to Nepal Tourism Board and government, to promote your areas which you love to explore?
Thank you, Tekji, for giving me the opportunity. Okay, so yeah, I had a lot to say to Nepal Tourism Board, by the way, and we are like constantly in touch with Nepal Tourism Board, and I think this is like a topic that I don't want to go in too much, but COVID has taught us a lesson, right? So after, like, for our tourism industry to go back to normal, I think it's going to take like 4, 5, maybe even a decade. So currently what we are doing, and everybody is talking about these days, is domestic tourism. For a couple of years, we have to rely on domestic tourism. And then I think the next part we should look is our neighbors, and especially like in India, like I stayed abroad for like 4, 5 years, and then during my stay over there, the easiest, like the quickest, I became friends with like the people that I felt most comfortable with were Indians or British Indians or like American Indians. So like the way we can promote like domestic and Indian tourists in our country is like the things we share, the things we have in common. And then interestingly enough, like the places where we have been, like the remotest of the places, Indian tourists have been there, but they are not accounted for, or they are just pilgrims. But if we could promote, like region wise, like I think someone mentioned Beretar. Okay, so many people from India drive up to Vedetar just for having like tea or dal bhat. So we could do that, like regional promotion. And then infrastructure wise, we have like,
yes,
those things aren't in radar at all. So
yes.
I think we should start to at least have those. Oh, okay, we have those places too. We need to do something about those places, and then we can go to the next phase.
Right. So our hill stations could be the major stations to attract from nearby border points, and then they could go to other places where you have defined yourself as unexplored and need to be redefined. Yes. Thank you. So, so do you have the last one sentence that you would like to add up, Mr. Rai?
Oh,
last minute.
Yeah. Let's look wider. Let's look broader.
Yeah, many things are on our horizon.
Yeah, like we are constantly seeking your support. I think you should do something about us as well. Like it's been done in individual level, personal level. Maybe you could look at us as well. Like we are already doing it. Your your soldier, your push would be a great help.
Okay, thank you. So keep promoting, keep uploading, and keep just sensitizing us about the new places. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now for one liner, 1 minute of time to Miss Pooja Rizal. So Miss Pooja, previously I interrupted you. Do you have anything to add up at last? Yeah, so could you please unmute yourself? Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, we don't really need the extraordinaries idea to work on and for Nepal, you know, and because we can already use the ideas that we have been planning for I don't know how many years, that in terms of infrastructures, in terms of local business promotions and everything. So if we do it in the right timing, it's all about the timing. So because a lot of countries are already open for tourists and they're doing amazing things, like simple things, but you know, very, very well managed way. So if we can do this in a very right time, then now is the time. If we wait for like, you know, even 1, 2, 3 months, then I don't think it's going to be relevant anymore. So timing is the main thing.
Yes, time is mightier and time is a great healer. And may we expect, may this situation be cured with the weapon or the magic of time, and may we recover our industry, global industry. Okay, thank you so much. And up next is Mr. Pandey, CN Pandey, a leader of tourism industry. Mr. Pandey, would you have, would you like to share your one-liner?
Thank you very much. It was great initiation taken by Srijana ma'am, and definitely we need to work together with India and Nepal for the better tourism. And we are more focused coming day with collaboration of Nepal Tourism Board and private sector to enhance and the upgrade for Nepalese tourism to brought many Indian pilgrimages and the holiday maker to Nepal. Thank you very much once again.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Pandey. Definitely, as you stated, we do have to look into the new innovative domain of tourism industry. The way we are practicing in a conventional way should be replaced by some innovative ways, and this applies in terms of tourism that is marred by COVID-19. So finally, I do guess we have a great honor to have Mr. Abhishek Upadhyay for this full session. Thank you so much, First Secretary sir. So finally, would like to listen to your one important mantra that would be a great sutra for us. So I would like to request for your last liner.
Well, it's very kind of you to say that I don't have any sutra, but I really hope that more and more Indians become aware of what I said earlier, that heaven may be myth, but Nepal is real. And I don't know, more than a line, but I really wish people in UP would know more about how many places you can fly to from Nepal-Ganj. You know, it's beautiful places. And I wish your entrepreneurs based in Nepal-Ganj could do a little more to popularize the destinations from that city to Nepal for the Indians living around that area. That's parting thought. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So we'll be in touch with the industrialists and business community of Nepal-Ganj and other border areas as well. That is definitely the great support and thought you have presented here in today's program. So with this, we have come to almost end of this session. So I think I have allotted time to most of the speakers or the panelists who are here or who are present at this time. Now I would like to request President Mrs. Srijana Rana. She is the president of NICCI, and she is a very renowned personality and key figure in Nepal's tourism and hospitality sector. So Mrs. Srijana Rana has no other name, but she is a dynamic leader that suffices to her explanations and to her elaboration. So she is doing a strong performance in particularly in hospitality, tourism, and bilateral issues. She is the executive director of Annapurna Group of Hotels, and she presently holds the chair of Hotel Association Nepal. And she, as I have already mentioned, she is the president of NICCI. Mrs. Rana is quite incisive analyst, and she has a great insights to drive best practices and improvements in the industry and organization. And she believes in empowering and developing personnel to realize their full potential. So I have an honor to welcome Mrs. Rana for our vote of thanks in today's webinar. Mrs. Rana.
Thank you, Tekji. Good evening, everyone. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do then, by the ones you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. That was Mark Twain. This to me captures the importance and the essence of travel, exploring different places, be it domestically or internationally. In my opinion, today, traveling is more part of our life than luxury. You know, we believe, the younger generation believe in switching off. So, you know, now I feel that, you know, everybody keeps their income aside to travel, to switch off. So here we go. So good evening, panelists, participants, and everyone watching. It is wonderful to see the second episode in the Arise webinar series come together. The Nepal-India Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Uptrendly have worked to bring unique learning and knowledge sharing webinars to you of current and being for the current and the burning issues. We are honored to have such inspiring individuals speak and moderate the session today. Mr. Rudra Singh Taman, who was our DG of Tourism Department, Mr. Abhishek Upadhyay, Mr. C.N. Pandey, Dhananjay Regmi, Pooja Rijal, Kanchan Rai, Sunima Udas, and believe me, to hear the youth speak today has been a breath of fresh air for everybody. So I think we will have to include more of youth in these sessions and get their perspective, their views, which is going to be extremely important for all of us. Your vision, your views were exciting and moving. We can learn so much from them and from each other as well. You know, the tourism sector is not an easy sector. I believe as a tourism entrepreneur, you have to have the passion, dedication, and vision. As you may know that my background is tourism and hospitality. I started working in this career from 1980s, you know, and I've enjoyed working in different parts of the industry in small roles and big. I have struggled at the front line of being a hotelier. I have seen the ups and downs of what the tourism sector has had to deal with over the last few decades, and how Nepal has always bounced back, be it the earthquake, be it the blockade. So, you know, our experience in the past has been really encouraging. And now with the COVID-19, it has been difficult for everyone. And as our speakers have shared, the statistics show how badly the sector has been affected. However, we are resilient and we will get through these difficult times. I always believe for anything to be successful, we have to work together cohesively. Without discussion and collaboration, we will not have the same positive impact. NICCI wants to help create an environment where we can learn, share, and grow from each other, not just locally, but with our neighbors like India. And as Mr. Ghosh has spoken earlier, NICCI aims to promote and enhance bilateral relations and enhance tourism with our neighbors. As many countries focus on their neighbors, we should also, and we have, NICCI has facilitated a joint working group in the past where we brought together government to government and business to business representatives from Nepal and India to discuss framework to promote bilateral tourism. While this was you know, hindered due to COVID, we hope to restart the discussion and find a way forward. There has always been great support from Indian tourism in the past. India was Nepal's biggest tourism source before COVID-19. Due to the similarities between our countries, the culture, the understanding of language, the food, we feel like it's home away from home. While exploring a new place, we still feel the comfort and familiarities of home, the connectivity of our borders, and no visa rule between the two countries makes movement and travel much easier. From adventure tourism to religious tourism, Nepal has so much to offer. Yes, we do have challenges, especially in attracting the younger generation, that we learn and work on a way to improve this. We need to be very clear. What I always keep stressing on is to be very clear about your products. We need a lot of working to be done there. Like Pooja also mentioned, after the product is identified, the standard, the quality. In Nepal, we are not looking for grandness, but the basic, be it a homestay, be it a 5-star hotel, the standard, the food hygiene, the safety of water. All these have to come together, and then the connectivity, the security, the garbage management that I always say. Sanitation is again something that I always stress on. After that comes marketing. Which product to market where? If it is a adventure tourism, of course we focus on the youth. And then if it is a religious tourism, it is a different target group. So these are something that the Nepal Tourism Board and the private sectors are constantly discussing and working on. I think this is what we really need to do, is to really be clear on the product, and then comes the marketing. So to conclude, I would like to thank the speakers and the moderator for your time and input into making this webinar a great success. To all the participants and viewers, we hope that you have enjoyed and learned a lot from today's webinar. Thank you very much. And then we are definitely going to give continuity to do what we are doing now. And then another thing that I also wanted to share was there was a question on religious tourism. So what an announcement that I would like to make is Nepal-India Chamber of Commerce, in cooperation with the Indian Embassy, are working on a religious circuit, which is the Buddhist circuit, the Shiva Shakti circuit, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and even Guru Nanak, you see. So this is something that we are really doing a thorough research with our experts here and in India, and we are planning to come up with this book where we are going to have the two countries come together in this different circuits, and also plan how to draw an itinerary for tourists coming from India to Nepal and vice versa. So with that, by end of this year, we hope to give you the good news and to be able to launch this book. Thank you so much, and good evening, everyone.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So may we be able to cherish Nepal-India relations for good. So this is what we expect at this moment. So as Einstein states, imagination is more important than knowledge. So let us be more imaginative. Let us reimagine our modes. Let us reimagine our work styles, and that would be the great stepping stones to achieve the result that we have envisaged since long. So with this note, I would like to conclude this webinar. We have come to the end of this webinar. So I, on behalf of Nepal India Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and on my own, would like to express deepest appreciations to all our valued panelists, our respected guests, for your pertinent remarks and views you express here. That is going to be a great help for us to devise further, further plans and policies, and to act accordingly. So I also thank our audiences for your views you express in tourism fraternity and chat box. Though we could not incorporate and include all your views, we will be noting down, recording, and will be raising such views you express in the next episode of this series. So I thank all team members of NICCI and Uptrendly for their consistent assistance to make this webinar happen. So finally, let us work together for establishing new trends in tourism industry and achieving common growth for both Nepal and India. Thank you all. Namaskar.
Thank you.